In Los Angeles, legendary actor, two-time Oscar winner and author Gene Hackman and his wife have died. They were found on Wednesday in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The Santa Fe sheriff saying there's no immediate indication of foul play, but did not provide a cause of death or when the couple may have died.
Passing of an absolute Hollywood legend. It's a really bizarre story. Gene Hackman and his wife, along with their dog, all found dead in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Now, as you said, police have said that no foul play is suspected, but they have not given a cause of death. This investigation is ongoing. Gene Hackman and his wife, they were found yesterday in their home in New Mexico. Now, Gene Hackman had really stepped out of the limelight for decades. He retired from Hollywood in 2004, and he and his wife had lived a quiet, relatively private life in New Mexico since they had moved there. Now, of course, one of the greatest Hollywood screen actors of our time. There you see the 5 Oscars that Gene Hackman was nominated for, winning 2 of them. This is even more meaningful, coming just days before the Oscars are this weekend. I anticipate that we will get a huge tribute to him at the In Memoriam.
6 decades his career spanned. For everything from superhero movies, Superman opposite Christopher Reeves, he was Lex Luthor. Westerns, Unforgiven, he's opposite Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman. Action movies, he's opposite Will Smith in Enemy of the State. Mark Wayne quoted his speech about the baskets being 10 foot high wherever you go. Norman Dale in Hoosiers. Gene Hackman was an actor for every occasion, for every film, and for everyone. It didn't matter. In fact, opposite Denzel Washington in Crimson Tide, there's a story where women would stop him, black women would stop him in the grocery store and say, "You the man that hit Denzel. We don't like that." Like, that's who Gene Hackman was. Everybody loved the Gene Hackman movie. He will be sorely missed.
You know, I did a lot of things. I sold shoes, I drove a truck, drove a cab, I jerked sodas.
He grew up loving movies starring Jimmy Cagney and Edward G. Robinson.
My mother and I were at a film once, and she said, "I want to see you do that someday." And that was all it was needed.
At the Pasadena Playhouse, the aspiring actor met another young actor, Dustin Hoffman. The two were voted least likely to succeed.
Take a good look, Pop. I'm Buck Barrel.
That changed when he was cast in Bonnie and Clyde. Hackman was nominated for an Oscar, the first of numerous anti-hero roles from the 1960s on. The acclaim covered up a potential career disaster. He was fired from The Graduate, starring his pal Hoffman, after just 2 weeks as Mr. Robinson.
I thought it was like the beginning of the end for me.
Hackman pressed on, a ski coach in Downhill Racer, an astronaut in Marooned, and a second Best Supporting Actor nomination for I Never Sang for My Father. There were tensions on set with father Melvin Douglas, who had wanted another co-star. In real life, Hackman's own father left the family when he was 13.
When you decide to do a role, you choose both the good and the bad that's happened to you, and you try to make that come alive.
All right, Popeye's here. Get your hands on your heads. Get off the bar and get on the wall.
As fierce New York City police detective Popeye Doyle, a defiant Hackman burst through the screen in The French Connection. He didn't like playing a bigot, beating up people.
I wanted to be fired from that film the first couple of days because I was very uncomfortable.
Also testing his nerves, driving in one of the most famous car chases in movie history.
We would go right down the street without any crowd control, and it was really scary.
The role he wanted out of won him an Oscar for Best Actor in 1972.
Life is up there, and life always matters very much.
He was admired by his peers and beloved by moviegoers. Eugene Alden Hackman was born January 30th, 1930 in San Bernardino, California. He grew up in Danville, Illinois with his maternal grandmother. Hackman dropped out of high school at 16 and lied about his age to join the Marines. He served in China, Japan, and Hawaii for 4.5 years. While in the military, he worked as an announcer on Armed Forces Radio. In 1951, Hackman made his way to New York, hoping to become an actor. He got his start on stage in The Curious Miss Carraway at the Pasadena Playhouse School. In 1958, he made his first appearance on the New York stage in Chaparral. 3 years later, Hackman made his feature film debut with a small non-speaking role in Mad Dog Call. His Broadway debut came in 1964 with Any Wednesday, followed by his first major film role in Lilith.
All right, Popeye's here.
Hackman's breakout role in 1971's The French Connection earned him his first Academy Award for Best Actor. He went on to play Lex Luthor, Superman's arch nemesis, in several films. Hackman also appeared in Reds, Hoosiers, and No Way Out. In 1993, Hackman won his second Oscar for Best Supporting Actor as a gunslinger turned lawman in Unforgiven.
What interests me about acting is that somewhat common characters put in uncommon situations. And what do you do? How do you react to certain things, given that you're a common man?
Wendell Roar, an overdue pleasure.
In 2003, Hackman starred in the legal thriller Runaway Jury, where he got a chance to act with his longtime friend, Dustin Hoffman. The following year, he appeared as the former president in the comedy Welcome to Mooseport. After stepping away from acting in 2008, Hackman wrote several books and continued painting, which he had said was one of his hobbies. Hackman had 3 children with his first wife, Faye Maltese, before getting divorced in 1986. He remarried in 1991. With over half a century in the public eye, Gene Hackman will be remembered for his intensity, charisma, and magnetism.
Yeah, you know, he wasn't beautiful like an Errol Flynn, George Clooney. In fact, he didn't think that he could be a leading actor or a star because he didn't have those classic movie star looks, right? He didn't have the sex appeal of like a Brad Pitt or a Denzel Washington. But he was everyman. Like, he looked like your next door neighbor, so you believed him in everything that he played, even if it was, you know, a sappy, ridiculous movie, The Quick and the Dead, with Leonardo DiCaprio and other actors and actresses. But he was the guy that you went to see, and those movies don't exist anymore. The Gene Hackman movies, they were huge budget films. They were just good movies, and that type of cinema isn't around anymore. And with the Oscars right around the corner this weekend, there better be an appropriate montage for this titan of film, because I don't think we're going to see the like of a Gene Hackman again. Those movies just don't get made with this type of a star.
From the Poseidon Adventure,
You can either stand aside and close that door to keep the air from coming in, or you can try to stop me.
to The Conversation,
There's one surefire rule that I have learned in this business is that I don't know anything about human nature. I don't know anything about curiosity.
it wasn't always deadly serious. In Young Frankenstein,
What is your name? I didn't get that.
and there was Superman.
Oh, yes, of course, you've been there. I do forget you. Get around, don't you?
Now a huge star, Hackman said he always liked the idea of Hollywood, but not the hubbub.
Personality-wise, I don't fit in.
It's been 5 years.
Hackman said his favorite film was the offbeat Scarecrow with Al Pacino, which was not a commercial hit.
I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game. In my book, we're going to be winners.
He was the basketball coach in Hoosiers, one of the best sports films ever made. Hackman was nominated for an Oscar again for Mississippi Burning.
Smile when the bulldozer ran over the black kid's body.
He won Best Supporting Actor for Unforgiven.
When he fires that, take out your pistols and shoot him down like the mangy scoundrel he is.
It kind of puts a bookend to my career for me. I'm sure I'll do other films, but I can kind of relax as long as Dustin doesn't get another one.
Unless you were looking at some other monitor, you weren't looking at it.
No, I don't like to watch.
You don't like to watch yourself? Do you go to your own films?
No, once in a while I'll see one, but I prefer to think of myself the way I feel, which is 23. And then
Oh, vanity.
I see this old man
Vanity,
up there.
I
Yeah, right.
see, I see.
Get off the bar and get on the wall.
Gene Hackman never fit the mold of a typical star, but blazed his own path into movie history. Often called an everyman, Hackman in fact played every different type of character, from a cop to a convict, a senator to a spy, and Lex Luthor to the president. As a young man, Hackman lied about his age so he could join the Marines, then took a shot at fame, working odd jobs to finance auditions.
Every day was like a new challenge. It was going out and trying to get that job and doing those auditions, and I loved it.
It wasn't until he appeared in Bonnie and Clyde at age 36 that Hollywood took notice. But the true breakout moment came with a car chase for the ages. Hackman earned his first Oscar for his role as Popeye Doyle in The French Connection. Then came the action, from the Poseidon Adventure to Superman with Hackman's indelible Lex Luthor.
Mind over muscle.
In between, he worked on comedies and critically acclaimed films, even the iconic sports drama Hoosiers. He gained an Oscar nomination for the searing Mississippi Burning and a second win for his role as a sheriff in 1992's Unforgiven.
I don't deserve this.
Following it up opposite Tom Cruise in The Firm, and a run of hits. He kept working through the early 2000s, winning over new audiences with the Royal Tenenbaums. In 2004, he reflected on his prolific career with Al around the release of Welcome to Mooseport.
And now here we are, the new millennium, and you're still working as much as ever.
Yeah, it's very seductive. You know, it's narcotic in a way, because it's, you know, you come to work and there's 90 people standing around waiting for you to do something, to you know. And that's attractive. In fun. I think I can give it up now.
That would be his last movie in a career that delighted audiences for decades.
You know, I loved him. I mean, he could do anything and work against anybody and hold his own. You know, in the same year that he did The Conversation, which is considered one of his best, he had a cameo in Young Frankenstein in 1974, and then played kind of the same character in The Conversation up against Will Smith in Enemy of the State.
So interesting, because he was so prolific, he worked so much, and then didn't, and that was one of his last interviews about one of his last projects.
He never made a bad movie, number one. He had almost 90 movies. None of them are bad. And you think of the best actor you could think of, Gene Hackman was as good as that actor.
And oh, by the way, wrote 5 books.
Exactly.
Yeah, he did. Wrote 5
novels.
So.
He's a testament of like the working actor, the person that just shows up every day, delivers. You mentioned the Royal Tenenbaums. He was adept at doing comedy. We talked about action movies, spy thrillers. It didn't matter. You knew if you put Gene Hackman in your movie, you were going to get award-worthy performances. He won 2 Academy Awards, one for Best Actor in The French Connection with his classic character of Popeye Doyle, and then again for playing an evil sheriff in Unforgiven. Those roles span 20 plus years apart. So Gene Hackman, it didn't matter. Like he was the guy. Like, can you think of an actor now that you would say, okay, well, if they're in the movie, I'm going to see it because it's going to be good? I can't think of one. I always knew Gene Hackman movies, they were going to be good.